So the national championship is set. One side of the semifinals was very exciting, the other not so much. Mario Cristobal and Miami will basically host Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers for the national championship. I don't think many people could have predicted Miami making it, especially after they failed to even make the ACC championship game. And one thing Cristobal's team has been elite at is winning big games. The Hurricanes are 4-0 against top 10 opponents. I want to compare this to the Oregon Ducks, a team that went 2-2 versus top 10 opponents, and one of those wins was against Penn State, so does that really even count? In 2021, Mario Cristobal left the Oregon Ducks to go back to his alma mater, the University of Miami, and comparing the success of the two programs on paper, we have to give the nod to Oregon and Dan Lanning, but the situations the two coaches inherited were drastically different. Miami was a dead program, only being propped up by the glory days of the early 2000s and the fact that it is in a recruiting hotbed in Florida. Cristobal saw the potential with Miami though. Lanning got an Oregon program that was only a couple years removed from a conference championship and very much a powerhouse that eyed a playoff spot every year. And ironically enough, Cristobal was the one who turned the Ducks around from being a 4-8 program that was at the bottom of the Pac-12 at one point. Now in 2026 and 4 seasons later, one guy has a chance to win the national championship and the other guy is falling behind to a new conference foe. And if you told me even going into this year that Super Mario would be the one in the national championship and not Dan Lanning, I'd be real hesitant to believe you. See, Miami has always been funny in the Cristobal era because they lose the silly games, the games they should win. Remember Georgia Tech?
Here's Cheney, the straight ahead. You gotta read the clock. I mean, run back. So just go ahead and fail the try. Take a knee. Hear that, Wes?
And even this year, the Canes lost to Louisville and SMU, ultimately costing themselves a conference title. But how did they even get a chance to play for this national championship then? They won a big game, probably the most consequential week 1 game maybe ever, beating the Fighting Irish in week 1, notched the Canes just above them into the 10th spot in the CFP rankings, getting that final kind of at-large spot. And in this playoff run, Miami has rattled off 3 top 10 wins. Dan Lanning in his tenure has had kind of the opposite problem. He wins all the games he's supposed to, but his team can't seem to get it done when it matters most. I mean, let's go back to 2023 when the Ducks had Heisman finalist Bo Nix. They were beat by their rival Washington twice, who went on to go to the national championship. That could have easily been Oregon in that national championship. Then in 2024, the Ducks got huge wins against Ohio State and Penn State to win the Big Ten championship for the first year in that conference. And I really thought last year was the Ducks' year. And ironically, I think they were kind of supposed to have the playoff run that Indiana is having right now. Of course, we all remember the disaster of the Rose Bowl versus Ohio State last year. And then this year in the Peach Bowl, the same type of disaster struck, where the Ducks were punched in the mouth from the start and lost the game at halftime. Lanning can have the excuse that his QB played terrible, or like, hey, we only lost to the national champion the past 2 years. When you think about it, hey, Indiana's probably going to win the championship this year. So you think about the past 2 years, well, who's the only teams that Oregon has lost to is Indiana, Ohio State, 2 national champions. The question for me is, Oregon has the talent. When is it going to come through in the games that really matter? When you think about it, the pressure is going to mount for Lanning. His conference contemporaries are going to have rings. We'll see what Dante Moore ends up doing. But now that Lanning can't even have an argument over someone like Mario Cristobal, and we could even see Super Mario hoisting the trophy on January 19th, no one is questioning if Lanning is a great coach, but I think it's time we give the same type of scrutiny on the Ducks head coach as Ryan Day gets after every Ohio State loss. Let me know in the comments, is this an overreaction or does Dan have a serious big game problem? Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Peace.